Hi, this is Dustin with Dustin's Dollars. Today I'm going to be talking about Knightscope, a couple updates, namely, I think that there is a potential lockup period that ends tomorrow for some of the shares, so I wanted to note that. And then a couple other small things like the short interest and the trading volume, just a couple things that I've noticed recently. Before I begin in earnest, let me remind you that I am not a financial advisor or a financial professional of any sort. All opinions that I express in this video are mine and do not represent those of any company or any other individual. I currently hold a long position in Knightscope, so basically this video should be for your entertainment purposes only, because I could be wrong about everything that I say in this video. You need to do your own research before making any investment decisions. All right, so that being said, I recall this, and I set myself a reminder from the Start Engine comments when Knightscope was doing their final raise before they did their listing in December of 2021, January 2022, where there's a question about the lockup period, because I actually am not 100% sure what the lockup period is for some of these shares. I'm going to go into this just a second, but William Santana Lee, CEO of Knightscope, did respond with sort of a summary of what the lockup periods are for the investors in the company. It said refer you to page 51 of the offering circular. It actually doesn't give you this much detail as far as I could tell. So I'm actually taking this off of his comment. I had copied it so that I had my own archive of this because I thought it was useful information. And he says, crudely speaking, there are four buckets. One, there's a 6-month lockup for directors and officers of the company. That is not happening tomorrow. That will happen in a couple months. So the officers of the company and the directors, which is directors don't actually hold any stock, other than Bill, who is also an officer of the company, they are not going to be selling. Their shares are still locked up for now. However, the interesting one, the one that I'm talking about today, is number 2. He said, investors that participated in the seed/Series A/Series B likely bought through a Regulation D offering, which has notionally a roughly 90-day lockup. So if I did a 90-day lockup from the listing date, that's what I assume, that when that time period starts. And again, that's actually my assumption. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's the way that I am interpreting this. That I think would end tomorrow. Sort of might depend on the legalese of exactly how they count those 90 days and when does it start. But I think that would be tomorrow, given that the listing was on January 27th, if I recall correctly. Then they say, investors that invested since 2017 likely bought preferred stock through a Reg A plus offering, and so there are effectively no restrictions, if they convert that to common stock. And certainly the folks who are purchasing shares in that most recent round, who are just buying commons or Class A shares, did not have any lockup period. So that's obvious. But it's really this that I want to talk about today is investors that participate in the seed/Series A/Series B rounds, right? And they would have this 90-day lockup period, which ends tomorrow. And so I was looking at how much stock does this represent. And as far as I could tell, I went back and grabbed their filing from their annual report from 2016. And it talked about the Series A and Series B preferred stock. And, so total, there's about 8.9 million shares of the Series A preferred stock, about 4.6 million shares of the Series B. And I also looked at 2017 because, the comment here was investors that invested since 2017 likely bought in a Reg A offering. So it's not obvious to me what happened with this, which is at the end of 2017, there were the same number of Series A and Series B preferreds, but there were also these Series M and Series M3 preferred stocks. And by the way, there were also some warrants and stock options. I have no idea really how those apply here. For now, I'm assuming that they don't necessarily have a lockup period, but again, I really don't know. It's an unknown to me. If one of you out there knows, please let me know in the comments. I'd be very curious to find that out. But to me, it's really, we're talking 7.6 million additional shares, which could potentially could have been locked until, again, I think tomorrow, based on this. And so I put this in just a brief spreadsheet so I could add it up and they can do the math for me. If it's just those shares and that were noted at the end of 2016, that would be about 13.6 million shares here if they were all converted. Because I think these all convert 1-to-1. I'm not positive on that, but I think they all convert 1-to-1. And if it was in the shares at the end of 2017, it would be, I think, 21.3. And I think some of these Series M might have a slightly higher conversion ratio, but if I recall, it was like 1.02. So it's substantially the same amount, if I recall correctly. Don't quote me on that. But, I think that's interesting that we could have this many shares that are locked and are finally will be able to be traded tomorrow. And which sort of brings me into the other thing that I've noticed I'm going to talk about, and that's the trading volume. And it's kind of hard to see on this chart probably for you. I had this zoomed in. Maybe if I can do this, it'll give me even a better view. But the trading volume on Knightscope, was higher back here. It was way high up, when we had this big spike. It was higher back here. I think there was something was announced. I don't remember what was announced at that point in time, but the volume spiked up. But since then, volume has fallen, and it's gotten really, really, really light. It's very lightly traded. And if you look like today, and you look at recent days, there's even gaps, at least in the Yahoo Finance, where they don't even report any trades happening for 15 minutes. And I don't know if that's reality, if maybe Yahoo Finance is missing some trades, but the volume is very low. And this actually, we had like double the volume today that we did yesterday, because there, at least I assume, because there was even a news story today that sort of got things moving a little bit. But I exported the daily trading volume from Yahoo Finance, and I sort of drew this out, and you can see this is the chart from their actual listing date on January 27th all the way until today. And you can see for the past month or so, the bars have been tiny compared to how the volume was before, right? And there's a couple of days where it traded, tens of millions of shares. Technically speaking, like that's, the same shares had to have been moving over and over, because even in the most recent filing, there's only roughly 24 million Class A shares that they say even exist. You would say are outstanding right now, because some of those preferreds are still preferreds and have not been converted into commons. But I actually chopped this off somewhere around, I think, the beginning of March, actually even the middle of February, right? So if I even take off these humongous bars at the beginning of the chart, just chop off roughly the first month here, this is what even the daily volume looks like. And you can see that in April, for most of April, and especially the later half of April, the volume here is even getting to some very, very small numbers, in daily volume here versus even where it was back in February. So I think that's interesting. And again, I think it will be interesting to see if, as some of these shares, if they actually were locked up, and tomorrow if they get unlocked, to see what does the volume look like. So that's at least one thing I want to call out. Another interesting thing that I do track is a short interest in Knightscope, and you've seen that this has only grown over time. As of the most recent report that was released today, I believe, gave us the number of shares that were outstanding short as of the middle of April, as of April 14th. And there were just shy of 1 million shares, right? 946,000 shares short of Knightscope. And you see, this is how the short interest has changed over time with the numbers that they do report to us, to the public. And you can see it has been going up. It's not really surprising to me, given the, what the company's statement of operations looks like, with their gross negative margins. But that is what it is. It's something I track. I will, continue to pay attention to over time. Even still though, that's, what, 1 million shares out of 24 million or so that are outstanding, so that the short interest is not huge as of yet. Granted, the liquidity is so thin that, it is interesting that it at least keeps growing, but something just to track over time. And the other thing, I've touched on this in a prior video, just want to touch on it today. I thought that there would be some funds that might buy in, just because Knightscope is now a listed stock, and it would be, for example, included in the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF. And I did want to give an update for anybody who does follow my channel and wants to, get some useful information. Knightscope has not yet been included here, at least as of the end of March. And previously I'd read their prospectus, skimmed through, and it looked like they actually did the rebalancing and would do new purchases at the end of each quarter. This did not happen at the end of Q1, as we see here. Knightscope would be somewhere right, this is sort of by name, so it should be right after Knight Swift Transportation Holdings, and they're not there, right? So it does not look like Knightscope has been included in the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF. which is one of the biggest ETFs out there of just passive funds that are going to hold stuff. It also has not yet been included, as far as I can tell, in the Robo ETF, and I kind of figure Knightscope is a very good fit for this ETF and will at some point be included. And I covered this before. I don't think that they have any. I couldn't see anything in their prospectus that would imply that they would not invest in Knightscope, right? If Knightscope's too small or anything like that. But I don't know. I could have missed something. But even as of their holdings for 425, right? Knightscope is not listed here. So I just found that just wanted to give you that information, keep you up to date. And yeah, in the interest of not wasting your time, I think that is everything I wanted to cover today. Let's see, anything on the chat? Nope, nothing on the chat. So I will hop off. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it, and I hope you learned something and enjoyed the video. Have a good one.